Let's talk about emetophobia. Hi, I'm Olivia Wilson, and I have emetophobia. Before I get into this video, I would like to preface that some things I talk about may be triggering to people with emetophobia. I also talk about mental health and eating disorders. Now let's dive in. What is emetophobia? In my definition, emetophobia is the debilitating fear of throwing up. Now, I know no one enjoys throwing up, that is obvious, but emetophobia is the extreme version of that where it does affect day-to-day life. First thing I want to talk about is the event that happened to me that triggered my emetophobia, and everything in this video is based on my experience, and I've done a little bit of research of other people's experiences and coping mechanisms, but mainly this is all my experience, so take everything with a grain of salt, but also hopefully it is beneficial for you. So the event that happened to me was in June of 2020. I was a little bit, depressed. My senior year had just gotten canceled because COVID, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to be rebellious. I'm going to do a little bit of puff, and so I did. I had never been under the influence of anything before this, so the second that it hit me, it was terrifying. My whole body kind of just felt like a weird numbness inside, and I was confusing that numbness for nausea because it had been over a decade at this point in my life where I had not thrown up. So I had no idea what nausea felt like, but being on the puff was the closest I had felt to that, definitely since a decade before. So for the several hours that I was under the influence, I just was fearing the whole time that I was going to get sick to my stomach. Luckily, it never happened, but once that was over and I was back in my normal headspace, that messed me up, and it definitely made me scared of any weird feeling then from there on out in my body, meaning I'm gonna get sick. So about 3 months after that, I started getting random anxiety attacks, and generally the anxiety attacks stemmed from me kind of having a fear of not having an out, or not having a place to escape, or not having a bathroom. And I don't think I fully understood that it was because I was scared to throw up at this point, but it was terrifying because it was my first time really having any sort of anxiety attacks that extreme. Very blessed that I never had that before high school. It was terrifying as a 19-year-old experiencing this for the first time. I was very confused. So some signs that led me to realizing that I have emetophobia was, number one, a fear of not having a restroom nearby. This was something I have never felt before. After this point, I was terrified if I did not have a bathroom nearby. I could not physically go out if I did not know the bathroom situation, or if the bathroom situation was something I was not comfortable with. I had an instance where my boyfriend at the time had a very weird bathroom situation in his house. He still lived at home, but the bathroom that I would typically use was out of commission, and my brain did not like that. I freaked out, could not go over. I refused to go to his house until that was fixed, and well, I never went back. But anyways, that was the first sign. The next one was the anxiety attacks. I've never experienced them, and the more that they started to happen, the more they became around vomiting, because when they would happen, I would get very nauseous. That's just the way that my body reacts to anxiety. I get nauseous, which sucks because when I'm nauseous, I get anxiety, and when I have anxiety, I get nauseous. So it's just circling, and it gets worse. Not great. But the more that those started happening, the more I realized that they were happening because of the fear. So that was another sign. Also during this time, food was becoming more and more scary to me. I was not trusting meals as I used to. I was kind of starting to limit what I ate because food started to make me feel nauseous. And I think it's because I was overthinking it. I still, unfortunately, get nauseous often after eating, hoping I can fix that one day. But that was new to me. I never really had issues after eating. I just would eat, be chilling, It wasn't a worry, but then food became something that made me scared of how my body was going to react. Because of all those signs, I realized I have emetophobia, and I decided to go to a therapist at this time, but unfortunately, I did not find a therapist that specialized in emetophobia, so she was not very helpful. The tips that she gave me just were not specific enough to benefit me. So I did stop scheduling with her. Money's tight, so I just did not go back to therapy for that. Hoping one day I can. But anyways, let's get into behaviors. First behavior is obsessively checking expiration dates. When I'm buying food in stores, I always check, and if I don't check, I'll be checking when I get home. And if people are cooking me meals, if I have the means to check expiration dates or dig in their trash, I will do it. I just will. And luckily at this point, a lot of my friends and family, well, they all know about my fear, so they do prepare food with caution for me, which I really appreciate it. So that's great. I know that people, even without the fear, like, they get obsessed over that. So it's not just specific to emetophobia, but it definitely came from emetophobia for me. Second one is I definitely started judging what other people were eating. And it wasn't like criticizing them for eating what they're eating, but it was kind of a fear that they're going to overeat or eat too much like sweets and it's going to make them sick. So anytime that I see people eating over what my personal limit is, I would be like, oh no, like they're going to feel terrible. But everyone does have their own limits, and you got to trust them that they're not going to eat too much to make them sick. Unfortunately, that judgment just comes with the fear for me. Third one is extreme hand washing. My hands are raw all the time because I cannot stop washing my hands. I am terrified of the stomach virus, which I'll get into at the end, but I unfortunately did have the stomach bug 2 months ago, so that was great. But I am just so terrified of anything that could get me sick. And honestly, it's kind of expanded to more than just like throwing up sick. I have just a fear of any sickness at this point, and I think it's because I fear that any sickness can result in throwing up. But I obsessively wash my hands and I sanitize things probably more than I should. I did forget an important behavior, which is pills. I will basically avoid taking pills at all costs, especially ones that I am not familiar with, because a lot of the times the side effects can be vomiting, or if you just don't take it with enough food, you can get sick too. So yeah, I'm definitely wary of taking pills and try to avoid them as much as possible. Fourth thing is, in general, just watching people's behaviors. If I see someone cough, I'm going to be like, oh my goodness, what if that cough becomes vomiting? If I see someone burp, same thing. If I just see a funny look on someone's face when they're eating, I'm like, oh no, do they not feel good? I look into body language so heavily now to see if I can pinpoint body language of someone about to get sick, because I want to leave the room if I'm sensing that could happen. So that's something I do. Restricting my food. Now, this is probably the worst behavior that I have because eating is so important. You got to fuel yourself. I haven't been diagnosed, but I definitely have some sort of eating disorder because of this. From research that I've done, I would assume that it's ARFID, avoidant restricted food intake disorder, something like that, because I am restricting what I'm eating and I'm avoiding food because I fear that it's going to make me sick. That is not good. You need to eat, you got to fuel yourself, but your brain's not letting you. That's another behavior. Still working through it. I feel like I've gotten a little bit better, but it's still a struggle. Not gonna lie. I feel a little nauseous right now. I ate 2 hours ago and it's freaking me out, but I'm gonna make sure that I eat later. It's important. It makes you feel good. Okay, next thing is inspecting food. I cannot eat in dark environments anymore because sometimes you're watching a movie, it's a little dark and you're eating food and you're not really looking at it. No, I have to have the light on. I gotta see everything that is going in my mouth. I won't eat it if I don't know what it looks like. So that's another thing. And the last one, in general, I kind of covered this already, but just cleaning, sanitizing. It's gotten a lot worse lately because of the norovirus heavily going around, which I already definitely got that, but you could get it again. So I have been very cautious, even with just my cats. I have been so much more clean around them because I've learned about diseases that you can get from cats now, which I wish I didn't know. Just, out of sight, out of mind. You don't think about it. But sadly, I've been informed and now I think about it. Let's talk triggers. Now, this is really important for people that are watching this video to educate yourself because someone maybe that you love has emetophobia and you want to see how you can help them avoid triggering them. So this part is for you. The first one, I guess, is more a personal thing, but food is a trigger, Food is the thing that'll come out of your body if you get sick. So sometimes you don't want to eat food because if you don't eat food, it can't exit your body. That is probably the number one trigger for most people. Number two is alcohol. So I do not drink alcohol for other reasons more than just this, but this is definitely part of it. If you drink too much alcohol, your body's going to reject it and you're going to throw up. And I don't even want to allow that to happen to me, so I don't have any at all. But also, being around people drinking alcohol, you don't know that they know their limits. you don't know their limits. So being around them can kind of be scary because you don't know if they're going to overdo it and then get sick around you. Because also when people are under the influence, they might not even like catch it until it happens. You know, it could just happen. I tend to avoid situations that have a lot of alcohol use because I don't want to see that. And unfortunately, I have been around instances like that. But amusement parks, they're kind of tough to go to. I did enjoy amusement parks, so it kind of sucks now that I have this, but people get sick a lot on rides. Motion sickness is a thing. When I was younger, someone got sick on a ride in front of me. That was a bad experience. And so now I'm kind of scared to go to amusement parks, which sucks because they're so fun, but it's a trigger. Crowded spaces in general can kind of be a trigger. Like, I tried going back to school and it was really hard for me to just sit in a classroom because, one, it is kind of awkward to get up and leave to go to the bathroom if you need that out. Just the idea of kind of being locked in a space where an out isn't the most convenient thing or wouldn't draw attention to you can trigger it, at least for me, because if I do need like a moment to myself, I don't want it to be a big deal. And crowded spaces or classrooms or something like that can be a big deal if you need to leave, depending on the dynamic, but that's a trigger. Lack of restrooms is definitely a trigger. Kind of already brushed over this, but I feel like bathrooms are emetophobia's best friends. Although I would like to say sometimes I get scared to go to bathrooms because what if you walk into a bathroom and someone's throwing up? Yeah, but overall, bathrooms are our best friends. They're our best out in most places. And number 6 is just sick people, obviously. And this can be scary because I work at a movie theater. I see hundreds of people each day. One of those people has to be carrying something, you know? I see people come in that are clearly sick too. And that triggers me. It sets me off. I've even worked when people have thrown up like in the lobby right in front of me. It happens, but it is terrifying to be around sick people, whether it's people that you don't know and you're just in public or people like in your own home. When my parents got COVID a few months ago, I was kind of a freak with how avoidant I was being. No normal person would be that avoidant, but an emetophobe for sure. Yeah. So let's talk about coping mechanisms. I don't think I actually have like too many, but the ones that I do have work pretty well for me. And then I'm just going to share others that I've found other people use, and I definitely want to look into trying soon because my emetophobia is definitely not gone. So I'm looking to find anything that could actually make this go away. But my number one coping mechanism is spearmint gum. I know that peppermint is actually like scientifically proven to actually get rid of nausea, so that's probably just as effective, but spearmint works great for me. I love spearmint. This is more of a personal story, but I am like kind of sensitive to some mints because I had mint Tums once and they actually made me want to vomit, which is the anti thing of Tums. But mint Tums were just terrible. Whatever mint that is, whenever I taste that flavor, it just brings me back to the mint Tums moment. Terrible. So don't try mint Tums, just stay away from those. But mint gum, spearmint, peppermint, do that. Now, this is something that you can only get in certain situations. Cold compresses, like those little like eye masks that you put in the freezer, or something behind your neck, or if you're out in public and you can like get like a Ziploc bag of ice. That works great. Kind of like stimulating yourself, like having something else stimulating your skin or any part of your body can really like get your mind off of the fear of throwing up in that moment because now you're occupied by something else. Another thing that makes me feel kind of comfortable is having a snack on hand at all times. I have my safe foods, and I'm sure if you have emetophobia, you have yours. Like mine, goldfish, these specific Nature Valley bars, Slim Jims. I know they're all kind of weird, but having those like on hand at all times is great. Because sometimes, like I said, I am not eating enough, and starvation, nausea is a real thing. So having like one of those snacks on hand is great for those moments where you realize, okay, I'm definitely nauseous right now because I need food. Let me have my little Slim Jim. It helps. Gum also can help with that, but I recommend having the snack before you go into the gum if it's really bad because you definitely need the food. So having a snack on hand, go to. Okay, I may have lied. There is one tactic that my therapist gave me that helps sometimes. If I'm feeling anxious, tapping like my chest, like that, helps. Doing it in like certain patterns or hugging yourself and doing like back and forth like that, weirdly enough, it helps. I think it goes back to like stimulating parts of your body to distract. Cold water. I am a water bottle girly. I will always have my water bottle on hand if I can, and it has to be cold because cold stimulates you, and well, that's really it. I just like cold water. I feel like room temperature water just wouldn't help. So that's just for me, but water is good for you anyways, so I'd say keep a water bottle on hand. Now I'm going to go into the coping mechanisms that I have not personally tried, but I feel like would be great. I heard that if you put isopropyl alcohol like on a cotton pad and sniff it, that can help. I've seen, and I really actually want to buy these, I just need money. There's like these acupressure bracelets that like, I guess there's a pressure point on your wrist for nausea, and they make bracelets that like trigger those pressure points or something. They just seem awesome. And also toothbrush covers. For me personally, anytime that my toothbrush, like I feel like it touches something weird, or obviously it's in the bathroom, like it's exposed to poop particles, I need to buy it as soon as possible. I throw out my toothbrushes way too early. Toothbrush cover, you know, part of that like contamination OCD maybe that comes along with it. Yeah. And the last thing, I also need to buy these as soon as possible. There are books on emetophobia. I think that these probably are very beneficial. I don't know. Like, obviously, I haven't read them, but look into them. I will leave links to below to some of them that I'm looking into buying if you're curious. Now, this part is definitely going to be a bit triggering for sure, but I'm going to talk about the 2 times that I have gotten sick while having this fear. The first time was July 2022, so 2 years into having the fear. I was going to bed one night and I was feeling nauseous, which is not uncommon, but it did feel a little bit more extreme than the normal. And so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go to bed. I'll sleep it off. But I woke up like an hour later and I was like, oh no, oh no. So it happened. I ran to the toilet and it happened, and it was terrifying. But it weirdly enough isn't as scary when it's happening. Like, you feel so terrible that I don't think you have the room in you to actually like fear. At least for me, and I'm very grateful that I was home during both of these episodes. I'm sure that the anxiety will definitely come in if it's in public for sure, but when I was actually sick, my emetophobia wasn't too bad. The only bad part of it that I think honestly everyone struggles with when they're throwing up is eating, because you like obviously don't want to throw up more than you have to, but in like reality you have to accept that your body's going to throw up as much as it needs to, and when it's done, it's done. Eating though during that period of time is very important, but it's hard to do it because you know that eating, it's probably going to come back up. That's the hard part of that. I don't know. Both of my experiences though, I mean, I felt terrible, but the anxiety was okay. 2 months ago, sadly it was New Year's Eve. It was very unfortunate having this happen on New Year's Eve. I don't know if it was the norovirus or food poisoning, probably the norovirus though, because that's been going around. I woke up, it was way worse this time around, so probably norovirus, but I woke up getting sick and so weak, could not eat, but anxiety was okay. I think because I had the sickness back in 2022, I recovered from this one faster mentally. In 2022, it did take me a few days to feel comfortable going back out in public because I wasn't sure if it could happen again, even though if it's been 24 hours since the last time, like you should be okay. I just felt like I needed like 5 days to solidly recover. I was requesting off of work for way too many days after that. But the second time around when I was sick 2 months ago, I went out of the house the next day, I'm pretty sure. So that was progress. One more thing I want to add in is a thought that I think really only emetophobia people would have is like when they get sick, they're going to try to find the exact explanation on why. And if you can't, it kind of messes you up and gets you scared a bit. At least for me. So yeah, I don't know if that makes you feel any better knowing that I got through it, but it's like not that bad when it's actually happening, but unfortunately knowing that it's not that bad when it's actually happening does not get rid of my fear. So I'm still scared of it happening, especially in inconvenient scenarios. Anyways, I think that is all I have to say on emetophobia. If you have any questions, I would love to answer if I have it. And if I think of anything more, I will put it in the comments because I don't want to leave anything unsaid. But that is all I can think of for now. So I will see you in the next video. I have a few more video ideas, so you'll see me again soon. And I love you guys. Bye.